Hey up everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, we had our snowstorm. We ended up getting, I don't know, maybe only about 10 inches, something like that. So I spent yesterday on the tractor, which was better. I don't know if I've shown much in videos outside, but a good bit of our drive is the original sort of farm track. It goes up and then it goes along. Well, it's up and down and up and down. So it's really difficult to use the bucket because you'll be going along, virtually not touching the snow, and then suddenly the next thing you dig in. Well, the ground is really soft. I don't know why. It's obviously thawed out a while ago. So instead of just skating over it like it normally does, or sort of digging in, or just sort of stopping, I've been digging chunks out. The drive is awful. Don't know what we're going to do with it. But anyway, that's not your problem. So let's just get on and finish off this silencer, shall we? Right, well, so in the 2 or 3 hours I spent out on the tractor yesterday, I was thinking about this silencer, and I decided that I like the shape so much I don't want to go sticking a bolt there. Actually, I think I had a comment about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount it on the back. We're going to put a piece of plate in here. So we'll put a piece of plate in, and then when we put the back on, the back will weld up to it, so it'll all be gas tight. So what I've done is I did make another one of these with the thing a little bit more offset. So I should have showed you how I suppose I should have shown you how I did that. But all I did was, because I did the 3-jaw chuck, just on one of the jaws I put a spacer. Actually, I put about an 1/8 inch piece of alloy, and then when you set it up in the 3 jaws, it's pushed over on one of them, and then you can drill it off centre. You could do it with a 4-jaw chuck as well, of course, then you can move it wherever you want. But anyway, the idea is I put a little piece on that end. This is longer than I thought it was. So this has turned out to be a bit short, but it doesn't matter because I can't get it in anyway. Come on. The hell's the matter with you? Just had you in that hole. Wait a minute. Look, goes in. Oh, the joys of live video. That's not really live. I could cut this out and then make it look as if I've done it right. There we go. So, let's say I thought that was going to come right at this end, but it doesn't matter because we're going to fill this end up. That's going to get welded in there. Right, so that's off like that. And then when that goes on, put a little bolt in the back. Now, we talked about compromise before. What I'm going to have to do here is use a little piece of modern design technique, i.e., you know when you're working on your car, or your bike for that matter. Oh, here's a perfect example. I used to have a very nice Chevrolet 2-door coupe, or coupe as they call it here, and it had this, it was a special model. It was the Z34, and it had this special V6 engine, twin overhead cam, 4 valves, all sorts of stuff, uprated brakes. Really nice car. But the alternator was on the bottom of the car, and to get at it, you actually, it was front wheel drive, you had to take one of the front shafts and drop it down. So you'd think how stupid, but what you've got to remember is, as far as they're concerned, is how to make it easily and cheaply. So that alternator was put on the engine before the engine was put in the engine bay. That's why it wasn't a problem. So, although I would love to build everything so that you could just take it off, what we're going to have to do here, I think, is similar to that when we're putting it together, it'll all go together, but when it's all together, you might not necessarily be able to get some pieces straight off. So if you're following me, we're going to have the exhaust pipe sticking through here at an angle. We're going to have to get this onto there, we're going to have to get this around the shock absorber. So I don't, don't forget this is going to be longer. So I don't know if I'll be able to inveigle that in there, down here, up onto there, and still get it on the exhaust pipe. What might have to happen is something like you've got to take this off first, or whatever. But anyway, that's an aside. So that's what we're going to do. Right, so that's going to get bronzed into there. Now we'll make a little plug up and bronze that in. And that will go onto there. So the piece I'm going to put in here, I think I'll make it out of 1/8 inch, so it's a nice solid mount. It's going to have to be down a little bit. I've got to give myself enough room for things like getting a bolt in the other side. I can get the bolt in without taking the mudguard off, and I can get my hand in there, so it's not too bad. As long as I can get this on without having to take too many things off. Because again, you see, if I mount this and then try and put the exhaust pipe on, the exhaust pipe's going to be at an angle. Well, the other end of the exhaust pipe's at a different angle going into the cylinder head. So, anyway, we've got round worse problems than this, haven't we, people? So we'll get round this. So let me weld a piece in here and drill a hole in it, and we'll see about getting that done. Right, so that's in there with a little bit of bronze in to hold it, because it'll be a lot easier to do when the frame's laid over. Put a piece in there, and of course my mind's still not working. I could put it in that size, and I thought, no, I can make it bigger so the bolts got it in. So the next thing we want to do is find out where we want our hole to go on there. So I put a little bit of tape on, and I took an odd bolt, made one end pointy right to the centre, and I've put a little slot in the other end for a screwdriver. So what we're going to do is we're going to screw that in there. The reason I put the slot in was I want this to go in right up to that little pointy bit, and I didn't think I'd be able to get hold of it. Now of course we're going to get that in that slot. There we go. No, we didn't. Oh man. What's this, a bad bit of thread? And I've cut my finger. Hold on. Right, it's just a bit of muck in there. Fine threads, So, I know some of you are saying, I'm going to mark it there, but I want to drill it here. But the thing is, I can measure from there. So we put this here, where we reckon we want it. And there it is. Right, so let me go and transfer that to the other side and drill a hole. Right, now what I've decided to do is I've actually put a slot in that to make it a little bit easier. And also, just like with the engine mountings, the space in the frame is larger than the actual casting, the engine mounting casting on the engine. That's to give you a little bit of wiggle room, and then when it's in, there are spaces that go in. So I've done the same here. This is wider than that, so I've made up a spacing piece that's going to drop into there. Okay? So this should do a number of things. It should help it. See, that gives it more space to go in. Then we drop that in. Then I'm hoping there's enough room to get the bolt in. I know I'm in the way here a little bit, but now I am somewhat thread challenged, but you know what's not helping now? This blooming piece of tape on my finger. It's, oh bugger, it's taken off. Ugh, look, blood. I just cut myself right in there. Again, this might be one of those jobs where I'm going to have to might be able to manage this with a shorter bolt. I've used a 3/4 inch one here. Maybe a 1/2 inch one is going to be long enough. Taper the end a little bit so that it goes in. Oh, come on. Hang on, I'm not going to force you to watch this. As usual, as soon as I switched you off, I got it in. Spanner's gone on magnetic. The worst part about that is you then get splinters in your fingers. Right, so maybe do that slot a little bit more actually. Actually, is it slotted all the way? Now don't forget, that is going to be filled in, that hole, so that'll look flat. You won't see that half a hole there. That's just about right there. Just about missing that, but we can finagle that a bit. Ooh, hang on, let me move you back a touch. In fact, I'll move the toolbox so you can get right back. There we go. Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. I like that. Probably this week, this Friday. Oh, come on. I'll take this down. Leave it with the upholsterer. Yes, I think that looks good. Excuse me. Oh. Pipe will come in the back. That's going to be a bugger to do that. So, what I need now, we're going to have the pipe clapped to it here, so that'll stiffen this end up, but actually that's a really good mount. And, excuse me again, see what I want is just like the other side, we don't want mud going in, so I want this to come out and curl round. This, we might need to take that off just to make it easier to get this on, but like the trials bike, see that isn't on a peg if you like. So I can't just take the bottom one out and then pull that off the top. That's got to come out as well. So I've got to have enough space here so that I can at least maybe take the bottom out, swing it over and pull it down. But we will come to that when we come to that. Alright, I think the next thing, see, I might make it come out right out here. Make a mount, although that's a long way off. I think we'd be much better off having a mounting here. Wants to be outside mounting, I think, rather than trying to fit it up inside. Tab on there. Little mounting welded onto the frame there. Straight in. This bit won't be too wobbly. It'll be a box section, of course. It's not a flap. So that'll be rigid. I think without that, the pipe on it, that'll be fine. Okay, let's look at the back and how we're going to make this outflow. Right, it's a new day. I just thought I'd give you this few seconds of video. Pop the cover on, just a bolt in to hold it. Because I wanted to show you why I decided to go with this type of silencer. I wanted to keep all these lines, see? I think it looks much better than clagging something down here. Anyway, and I just thought, looking at it, I could actually put a bracket on here, couldn't I, to mount that, instead of all the way up there. in there. I've decided I don't like it in there. I think it would be much better if this was held rigid and that end's held rigid, so we'll make that there. And then it just struck me that it would go on there nicely, because this is going to come out here at this level. It'll be just above it. Alright, also it suddenly struck me that the next thing we really should do is put the baffles in, then we could put the back on, then we can make this piece here. So this is how the baffles are going to work. Put my hand in from this side. See, they'll be fastened to this side out to here. Then that one goes out to there. I'm going to put 4 in. Exhaust gases are going to come in here. So they're going to go through there, round that path, and then out there. And the way they're going to be made is like this. So that will go in there. We'll weld it there a bit. We'll weld it down there a bit. And you'll notice this little piece sticking up. When we make the back, we'll have the back marked, so just there's going to be a little slot. And then one over here, and then one over there, one over there. This little tang will stick up through that slot, and we can weld it. So that way they're going to be welded in 3 places. Here, here, and here. So they won't flop. They won't be pushed by the pressure of the exhaust gases. I might make them a little longer, but that's it. So I've got to cut 4 of these, then they will obviously be, you know, like that. I'll be able to get in easily enough to weld that. The end one's probably going to be a little bit difficult, but it will help having this piece welded in at the top. So let me set to and start making some of these, and then we'll get them welded in. Now there's the first 2 baffles in. Tell you what, even it's things like this that test how good a welder you are. Even with the little end on, it's difficult to get in there and get into these angles and do it. But may not be completely pretty, but nobody's going to see it. Anyway, let me do the other 2. I've just made one up and put it down and immediately lost it. Oh, there it is. So the next one's going to go in there like that. See, it's got its little, they've all got their little tangs on. So that'll go in. This one's going to be the bugger to put in, of course. I think what I'm going to do with this one is not weld it here. I'm going to make 2 tangs on it. So I think I can get in to weld it in there, the bottom part, so there'll be a weld here and then it'll be welded twice at the top. I think that'll work fine for that. Alright, let me get them in. So there it is, finished off. You notice I put this one in that way because the entry is going to be down here, so it's going to go whoosh, round, round, round and out there. Welding in there was an absolute bugger. I don't know what was going on, so in the end I pulled out a little bit of alloy and just ran a bead, and look, it's perfect. I mean, even penetration, everything. But down in there, man. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I've cut this piece, which is multi-use, multi-purpose. It's, although it won't be all the way up there, it's the template for the back. But also what I'm going to do is put it on and rub and get the mark where each of those are. You notice I put 2 on there. Then when I do cut the piece of alloy out, where those marks are, I'm just going to drill a couple of little holes so they will stick through. What I'm also going to do, a third use for it, is we're going to, when I've made the little holes, we're going to stick it on with some tape, put this back on the bike so that I can see the back of it where this is going to come out. I'm assuming I'm going to make a cut out like that, maybe to there, right? Then that will come out and go that way. If any of you were wondering why I just left that little piece sticking out there, that's so that when I'm putting it on and off, I know that there is clearance for that rear suspension unit, so I don't have to worry about that. I make the outlet part on the back of the side of this, and I know I'm fine. I'm not going to sort of fabricate something and weld it on, and then when I go to put it on, it fouls on the rear suspension unit. As long as it's inside this, and I know I've got 1.5 inches to the tyre, then I'm fine. So, as I say, what we're going to do here, you're still in picture? Yep. Is we're going to put that on there like that. Get it where it wants to be. And then we'll rub them. And there's the mark. Okay, so I'll cut them out. I think I'll do them one at a time so that this doesn't move around. And when I've got them done, I'll bring you back and we'll go and put this on the bike. Right, well, so there's the back on with all the little doodads, where are we, sticking out. Bit of tape to hold it on. So let me bolt this on. So there it is back on. There you can see what I meant by this thing. This little piece I left on here. That's clear of this, so I can just build on the back of that, and I know I'm not going to foul here. So all I'm going to do from this side actually is mark on where the mudguard goes. Right, because the mudguard sticks out more than the tyre does, so I'm actually inside there, but that's going to go in. Right, so let's go back to the bench. So you can see there where I marked where the mudguard goes. Keep wondering what this noise is. It's me moving the stool around because it's got metal legs. So our outlet is going to have to be inside there, okay, because the mudguard goes like that up to there, and then the tyre is further in here. So we're going to come in inside that, which is fine. See, we'll make it about like that, as I said. So let me think about that, mark this up, and then we'll cut a piece of alloy. So I've started making up the back part. Right, a little bit of cardboard wasn't long enough because I made it all around in one. So this is going to be a bit different, but I'm working out a bit of time, see, because already I want this to come outwards. So that means that basically will have to go round like that. Then it's got to go up there to be able to fit that in there. Now then, I'm already finding a little bit of a problem, excuse my head, at the back here. This part is almost touching the tyre, so what I'm going to have to do is curve that. Alright, so rather than being square at the back, we'll make it curved like that, and that will change that. So let me go and fiddle on with that. Right, I went out of shot a bit there, didn't I? What I was saying was that this sticking out here was catching the tyre. It was fine here, but just a bit close there. So what I'm going to do is make that a curve. Instead of being square, we'll make it a curve. If anything, that'll help the gas flow anyway. So let me go and do that mod. Right, here's the next stage. This is going to be done in bits. I actually extended this and I put a curve in it. Right, so that's going to come round and the opening's going to be there. Okay, so now what we've got to do, I've decided I was doing this all in pieces rather than try and mess around, is make a piece that's like that. And another piece the same thickness round there, and then we'll put a piece over the top of it all. Okay? Right, so here's the next piece. I was able to make one template. I just made it long, and then I can do with that. So I've done this first one, so that is going to go on there like that. Then we'll do one for the other side, and as I say, we'll do a top. So let me get this at least tacked onto there. I almost forgot. That piece has got to have a curve in it. Alright. Right, well, I've got those two pieces welded on, or well, at least started on. So there we go. As I say, I think what I'll do is make just a little bracket there. Alright, so now all I've got to do is cut a piece that will fold along there. Very good, but it's lunchtime. Right, so now we've got to make a back for this. So I got myself a piece of card that I can put on there. Rub like that. Doesn't have to be exactly exact, because what we'll do is we'll cut it slightly larger, but there you see is our piece. We'll draw across that. So there's our bit. So let me cut that out, transfer it to a piece of alloy, and then we'll do the various curves that we need. Weld it on, we'll tack it on, make sure everything's good, and then we'll weld it all up. Alright, so I've slowly been forming this piece around this. And it now fits on there. Okay? A little bit more touching up here and there, but when we clamp this, it'll hold it down in place. Alright, so let me get that tacked on there. Right, well, there we are. Let's have a laugh and see if I can get this this bolt in. Spacer in there, my little bolt, there's the hole, and I'm going to have to stop because I've run out of argon. Even I have a little spare bottle. Here we go, people. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I have this little bottle. It's the smallest one you can get, and I keep it for just such a situation as this, where my main bottle runs out, so I'm not stumped. I think I got it. So I'm not stumped. No, I didn't. Good grief. Hang on. Right, that was being a right little bugger, which was annoying after running out of argon. The last weld I thought, what the hell's going on here? I can't get it to work right. That a little bit. And I think, hang on a second. Oh yeah, yeah, we've got a good 1/4 of an inch there. This is touching both sides of the tread, so that's fine. That's fine, and dandy. So, say I'll make a little bracket to go on there. And I think that looks fine. Pleased with that. Can I pull you out a bit more? No, hang on a second. Right, well, it's Saturday morning, so we're going to do a little bit more. But before we do, I've got something to show you. You may remember over the last couple of weeks I've had a little whinge on because I've been having a bit of a run of bad luck and annoyances. Well, come and have a look at this. Sorry about the noise, but we're outside. Well, there you go, look. Smashed rear window, bent door, smashed lights, side panel all bent out. Let's go inside and I'll tell you what it's about. Right. So, I went down into Ithaca to change my argon bottle, pulled into the gas place and there was a couple of lorries parked at the loading dock, so I had to park in a different spot. There's the building, there's a big car park, there's literally a field next to that, and so I pulled in and I realised I was in the disabled spot, so I thought, oh, there's enough room to get down near the loading dock, so I pulled back, and in that entire space there is one tree. This dickhead reversed straight into it. You've never heard such a bang. Considering I was just, going back a little bit, you'd think I dropped off a 1,000-foot cliff. It was just bang, and then the glass shattered and everything like that, and the guys came out of the place to see what was going on. So there you go. Of course, the worst part about it is this Honda CR-V is Linda's, so I had to come home and say, sorry dear, I've wrecked the back of your car. Alright, let's do some work. Well, you won't believe this, I just moved the camera from doing that bit with the car, set it here, turned round, crash. When I turned back, the tripod had fallen over, and when it was new this camera was $3,000. Luckily it landed on the chair I sit on, so it didn't crash all the way down onto the concrete. But I thought, alright, is there any point in going on? Anyway, the reason we're here, and the job we're going to do this morning, I was thinking about brackets. As you say, I was thinking one here, but it was going to have to go above this. I was thinking about putting one here, and then I suddenly thought, wait a minute, there's a bolt, and the silencer goes around the back of it. I'm going to put a bracket on the back which will go onto this bolt. Now, I don't want to put one on the front because that would mean fitting this sort of frontwards there, backwards there, and as I say, we're going to have to be able to wangle this a little bit because there are so many things to line up, particularly once I've got the inlet to go onto the exhaust pipe. So, just in case any of you were wondering, because I know I've had this comment in the past about this, the exhaust is a 1.5 inch pipe with 16th inch wall, so the hole down the middle, the internal diameter is 1 3/8, which comes out at, what is it, just over 1.5 square inches. I can't remember, I worked it out. And this here, which is basically the same all the way down, is 1 3/4 square inches. So we're not restricting the volume that goes in this, the other end coming out this end. Alright, so let me take the mud guard off because I need to get in the back, and we'll make our little template up for the mounting bracket. Right, well, I've just wasted a whole load of time by being too clever by half. I made this up, this little template up, and the idea was to be flat there, come out, go down and be on that. So it was going to be that shape, right? It's going to go on there like that. Well, I didn't make the hole, but it was going to go on there because it has to come out a bit to miss the rear suspension unit. So it's going to go on there like that. Well, it turned out that 1/8 inch, I just couldn't get a couple of the bends, even though I nailed it and everything. So I pratted on, then I thought, okay, let's make it in 2 pieces, and I even did that. Still didn't work properly. So then I came to the conclusion that, as I say, I was being too clever by half. I also thought to myself, it would probably be a good idea here if, like down at that bottom mounting, and like the engine, I had the spacer in to give myself some wiggle room. So all I've done, wish I'd done this in the first place, because I even found a piece that was in the scrap that was like that, is I made a straight L. Right? So that's going to get welded on there. And then when we've got this in, we can pop our spacer in, put that through, and it gives us more room. So let me clean this up so it'll weld. Now we'll put a nut on there. I'm in one of those positions as well where I've got bolts that are just not long enough and bolts that are too long. So we'll use this one to hold everything in. I'll put a nut on and that'll hold that there. And that gives me just the right gap down that length. So let me do that. Right, so I've got that welded on. I've welded it there and I've welded it there. And when I take it off, I'll weld around this side. So it'll be a nice strong mount at the top and a nice strong mount at the bottom and on the exhaust pipe. Oh, I was going to mention the exhaust pipe, wasn't I? Hang on, let me move you around. All right, we're going to finish with this because I'm not going to fit the inlet yet. I want to wait until the engine's done and in, so that the engine's bolted up exactly where it's going to go with its spacers in and the head's on with the head gasket and all the rest of it. Then we'll get on to the somewhat difficult task of putting an inlet pipe on there that's going to slide over the exhaust, because as you know the exhaust comes right out of here, so that's going to have to be cut. So as I say, I'm going to leave that until I know that is in exactly the right spot, because I'd hate to do it and then find that you know, like that needs to move, the spacers go in the right hand side. What's said? So that'll be fine. And of course this comes off, so it's not as if I've got to weld anything to the frame. It's only going to be some more welding on the silencer. So actually I've got a couple of minor things to do, and then I think we're about ready for paint. So what we'll do is we'll build the bottom of the engine while I'm painting. I would normally take the frame to be sandblasted, but because this is an oiling frame, I'm a bit leery, even if I tape up all the holes and everything. As I say, that's why I don't like oiling frames. I'm always terrified you're going to get something inside the frame that will get in the oil, that will get in the engine. So it's not a big frame, and there's only the frame and the swinging arm to do. So I think I'll just use, I might use paint stripper on it, but since there's a fair amount of rusty patches, I'll use the big brush, you know, the really brutal wire brush in the angle grinder and get that done. It's a job I hate doing. It always takes longer than you think it will, and it's just annoying. But while I'm doing that, so that you aren't waiting for stuff, we'll build up completely the bottom half of the engine. So I've still got to clean this bottom part, build that up, and then I was talking to my friend Dick, the super machinist. I was saying, you know, how I couldn't do this on the mill because the mill didn't have enough travel. I'd have to wait for Dave to come back, and he was saying that he always does his barrels on the lathe, but of course to do that you've got to make up a nice big strong mounting to bolt the barrel to put it in the chuck jaws. So I don't know if I want to get a big thick piece of metal, and plus of course I've only got a 3-jaw chuck. If I had a 4-jaw chuck I'd be more liable to do it, because then even if I'm a little bit out drilling the holes for the full mounting bolts, I can move it around to get the bore exactly in line. Anyway, we'll see. It's the middle of March, getting on towards the end of March. It's not that long till Dave comes home, and if the worst comes to the worst and we're waiting to put the engine in and everything else is done, then we'll have a look at what the next project's going to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be done immediately. Alright, so anyway, I'm waffling again. That's what's what. As much as I can do this week. So until next week, you all stay safe and enjoy yourselves.